In this lecture, we are going to see an overview of the different functionality included in the SAP PP module. First of all, we are going to see what are the goals of this section. Before starting to see in detail different functionality and to see some demos in the system, it is important to have in mind the big picture and understand in each moment where we are. It can be useful to come back to this lecture and watch it again as many times as we need it. So the first goal of this lecture will be to get a clear view of all the involved processes. On the other hand, some of the topics may be new for some of the students, so this session will be an opportunity to introduce them. Keep in mind that all of this functionality will be further explained in the following lectures. In the next point, we are going to see all the different processes or steps covered by SAP. The first planning step in many industries is an estimation of the future sales the organization is going to make in next years and the distribution of the needed production in order to be able to manufacture the required products. These estimated requirements will be called in SAP independent requirements, and with the real sales orders that the organization is receiving will constitute the input to the planning explosion to lower levels. The management of these requirements will be included in the step demand management. In some cases, it can be useful to simulate different scenarios with different requirements in order to analyze the need of increase of capacity of buying raw materials in advance or of financial consequences. This will be made in the long-term planning step. Once the independent requirements and sales orders are in the system, we can explode them to lower levels of the bill of materials. In the MPS, we only explode them to the following level. At this stage, we want to simulate different alternatives, but not to disturb the planning situation in all the lowest levels. When we run the MRP, we explode the requirements to all the levels of the bill of materials. If there is not enough available stock of one material at any level, a plan order or a purchase requisition, if it is a raw material, will be created. This plan order will explode dependent requirements to its lower levels in the bill of materials. This process will be repeated for each of the levels from up to down until we reach the lowest one. Once we have followed the MPS MRP process, we will have a number of production orders to manufacture each week or day or the period used for scheduling. At this step, we will have to assign them to the specific work center where we want to manufacture them and to sequence them to sending to the shop floor. Finally, the manufacturing process will start, getting the required raw material from the storage location and updating the stocks levels. In the next point, we are going to see an overview of the master data involved in this process. For each company code in SAP, we can have different plants. Each of them normally represents a different location where this company performs some of its activity. Most of the PP master data is plant related, so it can be different for each plant of the same company code. In each plant, we can define different storage locations. Even if they are not in the same location, they will be hold stock related to the operations of the plant. Main PP master data needed for the working of this functionality are material data, where we will indicate if each material is manufactured in-house or purchased, how it will be planned, in which storage location should be stored, etc. Bills of materials, where for each manufactured material we indicate the components needed for its production. Work centers, where we indicate to the system where each of the operations can be done and how to calculate times and costs depending on it. Routines, where we indicate which operations are needed for the manufacture of each of the materials and how much does it take each of one, among other things. Production versions, when a product can be made in different work centers with different operations or even with different components, we need to indicate how it will be manufactured each time we create a production order. For that, we will indicate one production version, not needed when there is only one way to manufacture it. Demand management. The demand, as we have seen, can come from real sales orders or from estimations about the future demand. In some cases, we can plan semi-finished products and wait for finished sales order to assemble the finished product. Planning. Once the sales order and independent requirements have been entered in the system, we can run the MPS, Master Production Schedule. This will create, when needed, dependent requirements in the next level. Once we have decided the finished products we want to manufacture, we can explore these requirements until the lowest level, running the MRP, Material Requirement Planning. And the last step in the PP process will be the production control. Once we have run the MPS MRP, we can get purchase requisitions when the material is purchased. At once checked out by the responsible person of doing this, they will be converted to purchase order and to send to the supplier. When we plan a material that is manufactured in-house, the MPS MRP will generate plan orders. These plan orders, once have been checked out, can be converted to production orders. When the planned production date for that order arrives, the planning department will release it in order to launch the production process. For the production process, some raw or semi-finished materials must be taken from the store allocation, and with this good issue, the stock levels will be adapted in the system. Once the different operations have been made, we can confirm each of them or make a collective confirmation when we finish. As a result of the manufacturing, a new material will enter the warehouse and appears as a new available stock for the following activities. Finally, deviance from planned cost must be liquidated and the production order will be closed, finishing this process.